I'm Ben McShane. I'm the director of our film Eddie, and I also played a minor acting role.
Hi, I'm Jake Jennings, and I'm the cinematographer for the film Eddie. I also had a minor acting role.
We're here to answer the final evaluation question. How did you use new media technologies in the construction, research, planning and evaluation stages of your film?
Cool.
Sorted.
We started off with a blank WordPress website called A2 Media 8, and this was given to us by the college on a random number basis. We soon renamed it GMSH Films because we wanted something that sounded professional and something that could actually be a production company. We used it to store all the documents that we'd used through the whole production process, all the research that we'd done to find out where we wanted the film to go. The website was the point around which all of our work revolved, so this was like the main piece of new media technology that we used in our film. In research and planning, a lot of our time was spent on YouTube, going through the videos, seeing what we could find that could give us any inspiration from existing films, and even seeing what we could find that wasn't in existing films that we wanted to try, things that could help us challenge the conventions. To make something that was completely our own. We used Celtx to write our script. It's a professional product that had more than what we really needed it for. Because we decided fairly early on that we didn't want mediocre dialogue ruining the story of our film, none of the scripts that we'd written in Celtx had any dialogue in them. They were basically just character movement descriptions and descriptions of what was in a room. We used Microsoft Word to visualise the film in a shot list. We used Word because it's an easy piece of software to use, and we'd had a good template to work from given to us by Ian, and I'm not sure that if we did use a professional shot list piece of software that we'd have come to any differences in the outcome. In fact, the outcome that we'd got with Word would probably have been a lot less contrived and come a lot more natural to us, so we'd be happy with the result that we'd got. Adobe Photoshop was used a lot in the planning because of all the logos that we designed and created for GMSH Films, and even upscaling the South Cheshire College logo for the production company intros. We used both of these files later on in Adobe After Effects when we went on to make the production company intros. In the construction process, we used a lot of technology to bring our film together. The most notable part of our film would have been the camera. The camera was a Sony Z1. This was it was quite useful because it was quite light, easy to manoeuvre in tight spaces, all that kind of stuff. I only really had one complaint about it. This was that it used a mini DV tape. Now, I know it says it does HD properly, but it's not proper HD. We wanted a full 1920 by 1080p picture, and what we got instead was a 1440 by 1080 picture with 25i interlacing, and I didn't like it. I would like to try and make the film again at some point if we could use real 1080p cameras with progressive 24 frames so that it looks filmic, because that was the effect that we were going for. That's really the main reason why I didn't really like the Sony Z1 camera that we used. The rest of the technologies we might as well do in order. So when we started the construction process, we used our digital cameras and stuff like that to take photos for the animatic. We use digital cameras because it's a lot more convenient than film when it comes to taking photos. We then put these photos together in Final Cut Pro 7 and added some copyrighted music, but not all copyrighted music. Some of it was from a royalty-free Creative Commons kind of music provider. So we screened this to the class on a projector screen, and then we kind of went on to filming. I suppose that's the next big step. We used the Sony Z1 camera to film, which I've already talked about. Then we exported the footage off the DV tape using a FireWire, and came onto the computer into an MOV file. These were then edited together to give us a rough cut and give us basic cues from where to write the music. We wrote the music in Logic Pro, me and Aaron did, and we used guitars, keyboards, and that was it really, just reverb modules, things like that in Logic Pro. We used Logic Pro again later on in the kind of stages to create the radio trailer. We use Logic Pro because we're used to it, because we do music technology. It's kind of a familiar piece of software to us, so we just liked using it. On set we used my Sony Handycam to film behind the scenes. We used the Handycam just because it was the only reasonable quality thing we could find. To make the magazine review we used like sample pieces from Google Images, sample articles, and then we kind of got the idea, got the template, and then started creating it in Adobe InDesign. I thought it was quite an easy piece of software to use once you got used to it, but I'm not sure I'd use it again. It's much more of a professional use program, and I don't feel we'd use it much. I much prefer using Photoshop, which we did use in the animatic. We used Photoshop to well, there's one scene in particular. If you look at Ben in the animatic, you'll see that there's two of him, just because there was only ever two people shooting at once, because I was the actor, so I was at Aaron's house and Aaron was taking photos, and when we were at Ben's area doing the park and the woods scene, it was me being the actor and Ben being the photographer. And there's one bit where I took a photo of Ben in the park and I had to double them up just so we knew there were numerous bullies. I think it worked quite well, even though in the feedback we got some comments saying, "What are the two Bens, blah 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 blah." No, I'm done.
In our evaluation, we used a green screen like this.
Help us, Supercat!
The hamsters are attacking the city! I'm here! Let's kill this son of a bitch! Good job, guys! How did you help me?
Well, we used Adobe After Effects to create the giant hamster and Supercat. We used the transform function to make the mouths move in the right way, and we recorded the voices and everything ourselves. We then used Action Essentials packages to create the explosions and fire that was going on in the background and all the smoke that was trailing behind us in the sky. We used motion blur on the city to make it seem like it was flying past us. And last of all, we used a green screen like this. You're not even a real cat. You're just Hugh. You're not even in our group.
Oh, okay.
However, these weren't the only technologies that we used in our evaluation. We used Photoshop to create the giant hamster. We used Final Cut Pro X to edit and pretty much structure our whole evaluation apart from question 2. We used my MacBook Pro for the most part to edit and key out things. And we used my Canon 600D, which is being used to record this now. We used these TV spec JVC cameras to record our TV interview. Keith and Ian used the editing suite to edit our TV interview for question 2 of our evaluation. The codecs that we used between After Effects and Final Cut Pro X were H.264 MP4s and Apple ProRes 4444 MOV files, which were huge. Not doing that again. And that's it. Question 4 done.